Sometimes people were saying they couldn't hear because the volume was down.
Can you hear me? Oh. All right. Rocki, do I need to call in? Let's see.
Hey, see,
Hey, can you hear me okay?
I can't hear her in my headphones. Yep, it's turned up. I can hear her in there, but I can't hear her through the headphones. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Mm-hmm. Oh, remember, did she call in? Did she call in? Tell her to call in, because that's what I told her to do.
Which number is it?
You said what, see?
Which number? The Zoom call-in number, or it's a studio number?
Studio number.
Okay, I don't have that one.
I mean, I can hear her, but not in here. I can hear like it's over there. I can hear like the chatter. But I'm saying I can't hear. Yeah, I'm almost at the middle. I'm almost at the point where you know how you can hear the air. So Robin, she's calling in. Yep, we getting it together. That's why I was like, log on early so we could get it together.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, now see. Oh, so put your Zoom on mute. See.
I'm on mute.
Okay, it's giving us. You hear that, Robin? You said what, Robin?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, that's better. Now no echo.
Okay, I turned the volume on my camera down.
Okay. Okay, that's working. It's a
Okay.
little, but it's not as bad. We getting it together, Jesus. That's why I had you. That's why I said log in early so we can get all of this worked out. Okay, so yep, I was gonna say we got about 15 minutes. So
Okay.
if you want to grab something to sip on or whatever you can. Got about
my
50.
water.
And actually, yeah, I'm gonna grab mine. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna be right back. Oh, let me pull it up. Okay, y'all. We're gonna get started in a little bit. We actually starting on time. We're not on CP time. Okay, so it's a delay. Oh, is he? Wow. Right. Thank you, hon. I'm about to inbox Berhinda now. Like, okay, she on the way. Yeah, thank you, hon. No. Yeah, I am. I need to. That's why I need to get on the horn and get some sponsors. Shoot, advertise. Right. Uh-huh. Yeah, and that mixing board, that's yeah. Oh, see, I need to stay on mute here. Okay. Child. Yeah. So next show will be November 11th. So we'll get it together. Wait, let me. Yeah, excited. 10 minus minutes. Hey, Miranda. Right on time. I love it. I had just inboxed you too. Oh, I love it. Girl, I'm just so glad that you made time. I'm like, so God knows, God knows. The universe knows what we need. Okay, so scooch up a little bit. Yep. Because we on Zoom and gonna be live. So I'm trying to make sure, like, scooch over this way, make sure you in the shot. And C. Anderson, she's the therapist. So as we can look at her and talk to her, right? And it's not looking crazy. We making it work. We making it work here. Thank you, Robin. So we got like 10 minutes. So while we so C, this is Berhinda. Berhinda, this is C.
Nice to meet you.
Ladies, I'm just excited.
Yeah, because I forgot that on the fourth Thursday for my group coaching program, I got them hosting. So I don't even have to be there.
Okay.
So I was like, what am I doing? Like, why did I like no? I was like, okay.
Girl,
I was like, let me get my life together.
you know what? And that's why exactly that's why I said sometimes you just gotta be sit still because I was frustrated, like, oh dang, who else I'm gonna get on here? Because you know, I like to get people who actually know who they talking about, what they talking about. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I gotta have Berhinda's energy
Yeah.
on here. And I had been wanting to have him on the show. So I was like, okay, God, we're gonna see what happens. And then when you inbox me again, I was
Yes.
like, all right.
It was on time. I was
like,
like, Black Jesus, let me get this together.
right, girl. So I'm glad. So I'm glad we gonna get going
Mhm.
on time today. You want some water? Let me grab some water, y'all. Thanks for whoever is tuning in. We are gonna get started soon. Let me grab me a water. Ain't nothing like coughing on air.
Right.
Bonjour. I'm so excited because Bonjour is the one who started with me.
Love it.
When you left me, I felt like a guilty lover or something. I was like, Bonjour ain't coming back.
If you don't mind, please.
stuff on YouTube that you can pull up that think can
Thank you.
you know, what you think will be appropriate. Like maybe if it's some ads on DV or something like that, like some videos or something. I'll leave it up to you. You know how I am, Manju. I used to tell him, like, just play something, Manju, please. Because, I mean, you got to know your team. You got to trust them to do what they do.
Absolutely.
So, okay, y'all. See, we got folks watching.
Awesome.
If you can share the live on your page too, Brenda, please.
Okay.
That's so crazy because you know Robin went to state. I be like, I know so many state people. That'd be the irony of life. So many state people. Oh, that water good. Mhm. Auntie's like, how you get on Facebook Live? My Lord.
Hmm.
Hey, Jervis. Thanks for watching. Jervis, stick around. We need a male's point of view. Well, you and Manju. Manju, you know Jervis? Jervis Canty? That's all right. Y'all meet today.
It definitely went out
Y'all meet today.
today.
Who is that?
That's me. Sorry.
Oh, I'm like, what do I mean here? Okay. Yep. So Jervis, we getting started in 5 minutes. So after you got the intro, Manju. It's actually the last one we did, Manju, that you helped me do with Chloe and Hallie. Or is it Haley? I'm tripping. Talk about Hallie. Yeah, but Chloe and Haley. Y'all know what I'm talking about, the sisters.
Mhm.
Chloe was down in Spelman. My daughter was so excited. She got to get a quick video of her.
So we're focusing, Rocki, on mental health and domestic violence, correct?
Well, emotional intelligence.
Emotional
Mhm.
intelligence.
But that's linked to mental health. So yeah. Matter of fact, let me pull up that. I just thought I'd link them together because they both, but really we leaning a lot towards the DV and just, I mean, wherever the conversation gonna go, we just vibe and we don't have to. But yeah, that is the focus on DV and some of our experiences, some of the people we've helped, how that emotional intelligence ties into that. Because yeah, people who are involved in DV probably don't have that high of emotional intelligence. So a lot of us, our coping skills are not the best. I know I could definitely use some help in that area. Sure. I just had a session with my therapist yesterday. Like, oh, thank you.
Mhm.
You trying to find the intro? It should be in my folder. It should be a Rocky's reality folder. I can't hear you. 2000. I still can't hear you. Why can't?
Is it Rocky's intro 2018?
I don't know. Play it. If it's Beyonce, that's not it. I don't think though. I think it's. Now this clock, Berhinda, just so you know, it's about 6 minutes fast.
Fast.
I'm glad we getting it together. We got 1 minute. Call Robin if you need to. Because I know last time it was in a folder. We are getting ready. Thank you to those who have patiently been waiting. Appreciate you. And then I do want to talk about what that post you made, Berhinda, about like shifting the language that we use.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was really good because I think I like that too. That's why I say thriving through something, not just surviving.
Yeah,
because it's like you got to
absolutely.
change your
Language,
mindset
yeah.
about something.
And language is so key
yeah.
to doing that. Yeah,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
I already got Chrome. Okay, 7 o'clock module. Man, we used to have a show here. Like it's 6 o'clock and it's time to rock.
That's
Those-
a hype intro.
Those from Detroit. No, talk about. See, like she ain't got no sense. Shaking her head like she ain't got no sense. Hey, you call Robin? It's not playing, you said? She done got us set up for everything else. So for those who are watching, we'll get started while Maju is trying to pull up. Now I knew stuff just could not ain't nothing gonna be perfect. It's always gonna be something. But we are all here together. So I'm giving Maju a little bit to get that intro together. But until that happens, I want to welcome everyone to Rocki's Reality. First time back in the studio since October of last year, I want to say. Yeah, October of last year, I think I did Marriage Uncut Part 3 at the end of October. And then before that, it was the show on domestic violence and emotional intelligence. So now I'm back in the studio. So grateful to have Berhinda Williams here with me. When I inboxed her, I was like, Berhinda, I need you to be on the show for emotional intelligence. We're actually, shout out to Ellen Chamberlain.
Shout out to
I
Ellen.
love Ellen. So I had put a post up like I always do, like I'm looking for someone who can discuss emotional intelligence, and she tagged you. So for those who don't know, Berhinda is a visionary empath coach, just girl crush, woman crush of the day. She supports empaths who are creative visionaries, helps us to embrace our feminine power, create mission-based businesses. She is the founder of The Power of Girlhood, which we love that. It's a mentoring program for girls ages 8 to 18. Also bilingual, Barriqua. I'm not bilingual, by the way. Berhinda is.
No problema.
She going
No
to
te
teach
preocupes.
right. Oh, I love it. I love it. Let's speak that little Spanish. I love it. Then we also have on video with us, we have C. Anderson, licensed therapist, trauma expert, specializes in sexual assault survival, domestic violence survival, recovery, I should say, sexual assault and domestic violence recovery. She's also a self-care expert. I love how she says self-care is not selfish. And that's something I have definitely learned as a mother. I don't feel bad when I take time to myself now. And that's something I've had to encourage other mothers, that you have to take time away in order to be your best for your children and for yourself and just for anybody. So C has been on NPR, Roland Martin, the Washington Post, Rolling Out, and today blacklove.com. So welcome to C and Berhinda. And welcome, ladies, welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
So are we C? Oh, I can't hear you, C. Is she on?
You can't hear me?
Yep, we can now. All right. We got it. Hot damn. Okay, so welcome, ladies. So wanted to, of course, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Of course, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Shout out to my aunt Claudette McMillan, who is a breast cancer survivor, thank God. And then it also is Emotional Intelligence Month. And I thought like domestic violence and emotional intelligence, that makes sense because they can tie in together. So just wanted to right quick, welcome you ladies. You are outstanding. I always am just so honored when people take out their time. So just right quick, I'm gonna start with C and then I'll come to you, Berhinda. C, what do you see as, how do you define emotional intelligence? Let's start there, then we'll move into talking about DV. But I wanted to first define some terms. So when we say emotional intelligence, I know we can Google it, but from a clinician standpoint, what is meant by that?
So emotional intelligence is one's ability to manage, to use their emotions in a positive way, but also how they perceive the emotions of other people and what they do with those emotional cues. Another way to look at it is it registers with me what I feel, what I think, what I see, and I can also perceive accurately what another person thinks, feels, and communicates.
Mm-hmm. Accurately, that word. That's the key word, because we all perceive things. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the most emotionally intelligent person at times, because I will get in my feelings quick, like, what are they trying to say? And see, the psychologist in me, because I'm a psychology major, I'm always overthinking and analyzing. So it's not it seems like, so I forgot who I was talking to, and they were like, that's a new term, emotional intelligence. I was like, it's a new term, but it's not a new concept. It's not a new thing that should be happening. Like, and a lot of times we don't realize, our perception doesn't mean that it's accurate. So I'm gonna switch to Berhinda and ask her, like, did you want to add to that, or what would you say is emotional intelligence?
So just building off of what C, so eloquently, just echoing her brilliance. I work with empaths, and so everything that she just laid out is what an empathic person is born with naturally. So there's emotional intelligence, right? It can be learned. I do believe it can be learned, but those who are empathic have it innately. So for those who are not familiar with an empath, it's a person that has the ability to feel the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of another person as if they were experiencing it themselves. Mm-hmm. So it's locally. You can feel it in the body. And so the evolution, I think, of our humanity, we had the industrial age, we had the technological age, but I feel like the age that we're in now is the age of emotional intelligence. Because the new leadership that we need, we can't pretend like systemic oppression doesn't exist. We can, but it's not going to be effective. We can, pretend like the whole melee that we saw on January 6th didn't happen.
Let me sip my tea, water.
And, for those of us who grew up in marginalized communities, with the advent of that amazing documentary that came out about R. Kelly, we can act like sexual trauma and sexual abuse does not exist in the Black community. It does. And so when we tap into the faculty of emotional intelligence, the way laid it out for us accurately. We have, some people will call it gut, intuition, but the body keeps score. So we know intuitively when things aren't right.
Mhm.
Right? Red flags, pink flags, whatever you like to call them.
Mhm.
This is what we're going to need, not just in our communities. I mean, I believe that it's there, but just also in our leadership, the way that we lead. So it has to come from a place that is, so with emotional intelligence, for those who are highly sensitive or empathic, the leadership will tend to be more collaborative leadership.
Mhm.
It will be a very authentic leadership. There is maybe a lead or a final decision maker, but there's also an urge and an urgency to how will this organization address the needs of the community.
Mhm.
So it's almost like there's this triple bottom line. So yes, of course, you know, in the business world where we talk about, you know, you hear all the time about these emotional intelligence trainings, it's not just going to increase your bottom line, but it's also going to help you retain talent.
Yeah.
Ooh, that part.
Where's the bell? Where's the bell? Ding.
It's gonna,
Ding.
it's gonna help you retain talent, but it's also going to help you shift the way you behave in a mission-based kind of way. And when we talk about, you know, this conversation, even in context of domestic violence, right? We have to look at the ways in which we see our family pathos and behaviors. And a lot of this happens because things weren't modeled.
Mhm.
And so even though we haven't seen it, we have to sort of divest ourselves from the cultural agreements maybe that we've agreed upon.
Mhm. Cultural agreements.
Mhm.
So, and see, these are things that we probably are not even realizing exist or really have to be paid attention to.
Mhm.
So I want to go back a little bit about an empath because I know I'm an empath because I am someone who feels
Mhm.
things, but I think I struggle with managing my
Mhm.
emotions. But I'm definitely someone who's very perceptive and in tune with when others are going through something.
Mhm.
I remember in college, my advisor was like, "You're very compassionate." And
Mhm.
she's like, because I'm always like concerned. I'm the type of person who I'll call and text you. I'll be
Mhm.
checking on you. I'm not a people pleaser because you will get over it. You're going to be all right. But certain things I know if I know people are going through something, and especially as a social worker, it's taught me to
Mhm.
you might not have that same experience, but you have felt that emotion
Correct.
connected
Mhm.
to that experience. So I want to go back a little bit and when we talk about leadership, because a lot of times with 9 to 5s, people know you leave the management, you don't leave the job. That's a whole nother
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
generationally, we don't realize that these traumas have become a part of our blueprint.
That's right.
Like yelling
Mhm.
at our kids,
Spanking,
hitting,
yeah.
spanking,
Mhm.
all of those are, in a sense, a lack or maybe a deficiency in emotional intelligence. What you think?
I would say that it's not necessarily a lack. When you look at the Black collective culturally, and you see how we respond to or don't respond to domestic violence,
Mhm.
you have to take into consideration the epigenetics, the generational trauma that's occurred, and how we've had to adapt to certain things that unfortunately have become commonplace and become culturally embedded. And so the other thing I would like to add is that when we talk about being empathic, there are some schools of thought that believe that the higher your melanin count, the more empathic you are. African Americans are considered to be stage 4 melanated beings. And so with that comes this additional level of intuition, this additional level of being able to tap in and tune in, even if you wanted to go so far as to call it Black girl magic, right? Black magic. But our ability to feel, to perceive, to know when something is wrong, our intuition, the connection between the heart and the mind. We have to consider all of that when we talk about, okay, in the Black collective, in Black communities, in Black families, why is it that we have a certain response to domestic violence? And one of the main reasons is because of our historical distrust
Yeah.
of systems.
And I guess I said
Okay.
like a lack of
Right.
emotional intelligence because no room has been made for us to have emotions, to process our emotions. We haven't had the space. If your baby's getting snatched away from you, or you have to kick your husband out because so the welfare office won't count his income, so you'll still get food stamps. Those are the things that we don't have the time to grieve. Like a lot of the families I worked with, when I would interview them, they would tell me like, oh yeah, my mom died last year. And it's like, okay, did anyone go to grief therapy? No, of course not. They're too busy trying to get put food in their children's mouths. Or even if we are affluent Black people, we're not thinking about that. Or we gonna just go to the pastor. We're not thinking about going, we just gonna pray it away. So it's like we don't have the room to be emotionally intelligent at times because we're not in those spaces where we're given the time or the resources in order to nurture that.
And it could be also we stuff
Space,
it
and
away.
ability.
Yeah. I was just going to say, C said something really important too, to talk about epigenetics and like the genetic markers that, I mean, post-traumatic slave syndrome is it's a real thing. And having the space to grieve, it's sort of compartmentalized because you literally have to keep moving.
Yeah.
And I think
because I got to go back to work.
I got to go back to
I got
work.
stuff to do. My other child has autism. I'm a caregiver for my diabetic grandma who has a leg amputated. I've got all of these things going on. Plus, I'm at a job where I'm suffering from microaggressions.
So you think about that, and you think about 400 years ago, you drop a baby in a cotton field, and you get right back to work.
See, I was just getting ready to say that was the story of, on my father's side, my grandmother's mother delivered her in the field, cleaned her up, and went right back to work.
Yeah. Or your child was sold this morning.
That's right.
Sold away to a neighboring plantation or up the river, and you have to continue. That was one of the things. I think we had a conversation. I don't know if you commented, Rocki, about how the domestic violence that exists between Black mothers and daughters, and how for generations Black women have had to be very stoic, very hard-hearted when it comes to raising their children. And there's this protective mechanism that is in place so that I'm not as connected as I should or need to be with this child because anything could happen. Police could kill my child. The CPS could come snatch my child. So I still have to be able to care for my other children or other people and still go on with life. It's historical, unfortunately. So guess what? If he's hitting on you, you'll be all right. If he's controlling you, girl, I went through work. It's not that bad.
Girl, he got good money. He got a good job.
And I was just going to say, if like the lifestyle can be maintained, then you don't complain. You got a good man. Don't stress him out. Don't do this. Don't. So it's like we are caught between. I think it was Bell Hooks that talks about Black women. We're caught between white supremacy and misogynoir. So it's like we're fighting on both fronts. So where's the safety? Where's
the lowest on the totem pole?
Yeah, where's the space? Where I gotta come home and fight you, and then go back out in the world and fight supremacy.
Yeah, we're the lowest on the totem pole.
And that's one of the reasons, one of the factors that play into Black women having a more than double the rate of white women dying at the hands of their partners. Because when you have more than one ism, right? Racism and sexism for Black women, there's a almost a double oppression that exists. And that's one of the reasons why Black women have to be very, very careful about subscribing to white feminism.
Because the movement didn't start for us. I mean, a lot of people, we don't realize the first feminism movement was not inclusive of Black women or women of color. It was
Poor women either.
Because
we got to bring classism into the conversation
exactly.
too.
And that's another layer.
Yes.
Ooh.
So we're quicker to subscribe to that than we are to actually activating our feminine traits.
Yeah.
Two very different places to live in. Very different.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a really great point, because the womanist movement is not as old, but I believe it's Alice Walker that coined womanist, and it takes into consideration. And this is sometimes where I feel like this is the dinger, right? Because womanism takes in the entire race. So we're always considering how everyone is impacted, but who
is concerned.
Well,
because again, that's what we've been conditioned to do, to be considerate of others. As a Black woman, you have to be mindful of how your Blackness shows up in the world. Like, it's something that I've even taught my daughter. Like, I had to teach her, like, as a Black woman, you have to operate different.
Code switching.
Oh, we do it all the time. I know how to talk through my notes very well when I'm calling and I'm on the phone with my girlfriend. It's like, hey,
put the voice on.
I'm just saying, we do it. When we're calling to take care of business, we're talking like this, and thank you very much. What is your name? Then when we're kicking it with our people, we like da-da-da-da. So we have to switch back and forth, because I've had to tell my daughter, and kind of touching on our conversation we had about colorism, Berhinda, I had to tell her, like, you yellow, but you're still Black.
Black enough to get arrested.
Exactly. Understand that you definitely have favoritism because you are light skinned, but understand that to a white person, you still Black.
You're still Black.
Okay. If you do something, if you go down there, and I told her you down there at school in Spelman, you're going to be in the Black Mecca, but you still are in Georgia, which is a racist state. So understand you are
they still trying to recount the votes, because the voter suppression is
still Black.
Yeah.
You still Black.
Yeah.
So right quick, I wanted to ask Berhinda the types of empaths, because there's different categories of empaths. And I thought it was interesting how you broke it down, because I think that does tie into the emotional intelligence that someone has, the type of empath that they are. And I think a lot of empaths probably, I don't know if there's a study out here, but I would be willing to do a study on how many are empaths.
Yeah.
Because they probably sympathize and empathize with their partner, with the abuser.
With the abuse. And I think that's a natural inclination, because you're always thinking about the world through someone else's experience. And the research says that there's only 1 to 2% of the population, there may be more, but I would venture to say I call many empaths emotional first responders. So people like you, people like C, who are therapists, who are social workers, who are EMT, who are teachers, right? Because you just want to help. It's just sort of in you,
right?
To want to help. And so your partner, it's more of a trauma bond, because you can feel their pain, and if you can just love them through, because on the opposite end is the narcissist, right? So no one was there to rescue you, to save you. Well, let me go and save. So let me make this relationship. And it across all relationship lines, it can be platonic friendships, or, in the same sex, I need to save someone because no one saved me.
Or show my value.
Yeah. So let me, instead of the audacity that we need to heal, because how dare you heal? No, how about how about that's what I need to do? Because as soon as we heal, the relationship becomes obsolete.
Yeah, the dynamic shift.
Because it becomes codependent.
Yes.
So the other thing that you mentioned a few moments ago that was really important, and I want to reiterate, is one of the tools that narcissists or abusers that have anti-social personality disorder, one of the tactics that they use in those situations is they will purposely plant a story or an occurrence of sympathy, of victimization, so that
Mhm.
it pulls on the strings of the empath or of their target.
That's right.
So, for instance, we were talking about you mentioned the R. Kelly documentary earlier, and in that, R. Kelly's ex-wife, forgive me, I can't recall her name right now.
Andrea, I want to say.
I
Yes.
think you're right.
Andrea.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So she
Mhm.
mentioned that when she met R. Kelly, he shared with her not his abuse, but he shared with her that he had never learned how to read, and how he was so ashamed and so embarrassed, and she helped him learn how to read, right?
Mhm.
And so narcissists and individuals that are antisocial, and even people who are histrionic. Histrionic is another cluster within those apathetic mental health disorders. They will provide their target with I call it a string, with a string that can be pulled at any moment to invoke that sympathy that they're so willing to give because they want to be able. If I could just, like you were saying, if I can just love this person back to health, everything will be okay. But what comes with that many times is that abuser has shown up in the beginning as this marvelous, wonderful person who has love bombed and become all the things that this individual is desiring and wants them to be, and says how much they need them. And so that when things take a left turn, the target is like, well, wait a minute. If I can just do X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3, I can get them to be who they were in the beginning. And the person that they were in the beginning is a mask. And that mask cannot be maintained. It cannot be maintained.
Not for long.
When it starts to crumble and to crack, and you see these traits that come out, that, the intentionally making someone jealous or those kinds of things, that is the mask cracking. Pay attention to that, because that is the real person, and that is the best that it will ever get. The best that it will ever get.
And you talk about it in your book, Love Taps. I like how you break down the different types of love that assaults, pollutes, and scars. I love how you break down the different types and the different scenarios. So that sounds familiar of some people I've known. Seriously.
And then you justify it because it's like, well, they had a rough childhood. America won't let a black man catch a break. You justify.
We all done had a rough, honey.
We all done had it.
I mean, you it just like it's a cognizance. But right quick, I want to go back. Just right quick, Berhinda, name off what are the different types of empaths?
Yeah, so there's 17 types, and so I'll just.
You said 17?
Yeah, 17.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, there's 17. So I'll kind of give a
okay,
high
right
level
quick.
Overview of them. So it really is, of course, emotional empath, but there's clear cognizant, which is clear cognition, which is clear knowing, clear sentient, which is clear feeling. Then there are those of us who have their geomantic empaths, which means you can pick up energy in a space. So when we're talking about domestic violence, right, you can be triggered by maybe rolling past the home that the incident, happened in. It can create fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And I know our mental health expert, C, definitely can break down some of those, like what those things mean. So you can feel, presence or energy in a particular place. Right. So I think that it's really important, again, of course, we can't stress self-care enough, but go to a therapist. I'm a coach and I do believe in coaching, but coaching can only carry you so far. And really it's about clearing a pathway to move forward, but you can't go forward until you deal with your past. So don't bypass sitting with a psychotherapist, a therapist, someone that can really help you undo and heal so that you can move forward. And if you're just kind of noticing a pattern, I mean, 12-step yourself. Start with acknowledging that you are powerless against, you have a problem. You're powerless against, said problem. And I think the fourth step, which is I call it shadow work, is when you do a critical moral inventory of yourself, because there's a common denominator, these relationships and these patterns. And this is, look, family too. Sometimes family, you have to distance yourself from family. And one of my clients, and I think Sharissa Robinson. Yeah, that does the unmother. I don't know. Are we okay with that?
I know of her. Oh yes,
Okay.
we unfiltered and unapologetic.
Okay.
Unmotherfuck me.
Yes,
I love
unmotherfuck
it.
yourself.
I don't know her personally, but I
you've
am
seen her work.
familiar. So
Yeah,
yes,
she
yes.
talks about the mother wound.
Yeah.
And so
So
when
we
it
don't talk
becomes
about mother-daughter relationship.
yeah,
Ooh,
when it becomes
Jesus.
detrimental,
Yeah.
really to your mental and
Yeah.
spiritual health to be in
Yes.
relationship. And we, in the Black community, it's like God and then it's mother, and it's like mother is
You better not
unassailable.
exactly.
You cannot say
You better
anything,
not disrespect
about your
anybody.
mom.
I'm sorry, right quick. Whoever is watching, thanks for tapping in. If you want to put some comments in, questions, please do. But that is so true, because as a mother, I had to check myself of not spilling over the trauma I've experienced onto my children.
Yeah.
That's as a mother. That's self-check. That's what motherhood teaches you.
Well, see, that's
that your-
emotional intelligence.
right,
That
to
you check
to
yourself.
check your shit.
Yes.
And I've had to
That's
apologize.
exactly what that is.
I've had to I've had to sit my kids down and say, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't fuck you up too bad. Like
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Mommy is doing the best I can. But then apologizing to them and saying, you know what? Sometimes I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm just trying to figure this.
That takes a level of self-awareness
And emotional intelligence.
and
Yeah, I mean, I'm self-conscious like that. I am like, okay, well, I think, but that's also something from my trauma of my childhood, being a kid who was teased, always self-conscious of how others are perceiving me or how my behavior is affecting them.
Yeah.
So, especially as a mother, though, it definitely teaches you that. But you're right, it's unfortunate that a lot of times people don't realize the root of their issues is the relationship with their mother.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean,
It
it's
can definitely, if you think about it, one of the reasons I became a therapist, and Rocki knows some of my story, my relationship with my mother. And I remember in one of my very first classes hearing that some mothers don't innately connect with their children.
yeah.
And everybody in the class was like, oh my God, that's crazy. What do you mean? And it made perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
And then my professor said something along the lines of, he said that other people's perception of your experience does not invalidate what you experience.
Come on.
And I was like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me the things I went through, even though people that were around said, I don't remember that. That didn't happen. You shouldn't have felt that way. You're too sensitive. All of those things, because I'm highly
Come on.
impacted.
Yeah, come on, too sensitive. That's the first thing they'll say about you. You're too sensitive.
Girl, I done heard that so many times. You wear your heart on your sleeve, blah, blah,
Yes.
blah.
Toughen up.
Yes, yes. And so then you spend, or at least I did, I can speak for myself. I spent years trying to not be who I was.
Come on. Come on,
And so
see.
that meant dimming my light. That meant the things that I could, my clear audience. That meant my clairvoyance. Oh, please, right? And I had to deny myself. And so it's only been recently that I was able to start a deeper level of healing and realizing that all those things were part of me.
That's
all
right.
those things were who I was and who I am. And that it was okay that I had to give myself permission to be who I am. And that was because of what I heard, like you said earlier, Rocki, what you heard, the teasing, those kinds of things. And so one of the things I give my daughter, God bless her, she's a Pisces, and
You know she's sensitive.
she is more of a Pisces than I am.
Well,
You know she's sensitive.
She's such a beautiful spirit. I tell her all the time, like she was born.
They're very
with a
intuitive.
smile
They
on
are.
her face. And so one of the things I did with her was I said, I need for you to tell me and to be honest with me about my ability to mother you. Have I been what you needed?
Girl.
And we had an amazing conversation. And I didn't defend anything. I didn't make excuses for anything. And when we finished that conversation, I said to her, I said, now as an adult woman, she's almost 21, I said, I need for you to tell me what you need from your mother as the adult woman.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
I,
so
I need to
beautiful.
have a conversation with Sid. Because I've always tried to have open conversations with her
Conversations.
because my mom did speak to me, but my mom is, she's old school. You only discuss certain things,
That's
it's an
right.
appropriate manner. She was a nurse. So she did talk about sex, but it was more so, this is gonorrhea. Don't do it. This is a brochure on how genital warts look. Don't do it. But didn't have that conversation about this is how you're going to feel. This is how, if you do decide to have
Yeah.
sex, this is what you should do.
The soul
It-
ties
right. It's
and
right.
all of the other
Your
things.
energy that you're giving up. It's okay that you feel good and that you are vocal about your satisfaction. Like my daughter hated when I had those conversations, but I just wanted to make sure as her mother, because she's like, you cool when you're not being my mama. And I'm I'm not your friend, but I also do want
You're
us to have
human.
I want
relationship.
us to be able to kick it
It's
a
such
little
a
bit.
fine line.
It
Yeah,
is,
it's a
yes,
fine
because
line.
I will still kick your ass as your mother, but I want you to know I still know you're a woman.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to teach her things that I didn't realize till I was in my 30s. I'm trying to give her that now.
I have learned that, it irritates me because in our culture, I'm not one of your little friends, right? So we really need
That's
to
a mom.
give
Yep, black
our
momism.
children space for them to communicate with us and us not be in parent mode.
Ew, that's
when they
hard
to do that.
And that's why it takes a whole village, because you cannot do it all on your
Yeah.
own.
You
And the very
cannot.
message
true,
that maybe
yeah.
the auntie gives,
Yeah,
you could be
that's true.
saying verbatim what
Yes,
mom
thank
was
God
saying.
for auntie.
Yeah.
You're right.
But
Thank
aunties
God.
look,
Thank God for the
my
aunties.
come on, aunties for the MVP. Aunties are
shout
like
out to the aunties.
aunties
Yes.
are like
Yeah,
really
yeah.
the unsung
You are right.
like heroes in our community,
Yes,
because they just really are like the edge walkers, can translate things in ways that maybe mom can't say. And like grandmother, that's a whole other organism over there. But auntie really does,
You're right.
hold it down for us. And I just want to, hopefully like even relieve people, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but our parents' only job is to get us here. Like that's it. Like they're the vessels to bring us here, but they don't owe us anything after that. I mean, when you think about Oprah, right? Her dad knocked her mom up against the oak tree because he wanted to see what was up a poodle squirrel. But to see what she has gone on to become without functioning parents, really.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. One of the things that I've kind of put in my toolbox to remember in that very same vein was that like you said, right, we come through our parents, not from them. We come from whatever you believe is your higher power, the universe, whatever that belief system is. But oftentimes we need our parents' function as much as their dysfunction to be who we were born and created to be.
Come on, alchemy. Because I mean, that's what you have to alchemize. We're all born into particular circumstances for our souls to grow. And the only way you're going to grow is when you have some resistance.
Come on, somebody.
And so you
Come
can
on,
go
somebody.
into a deeper level of love and compassion when you say, you know what, my parents did the very best that they could.
Really?
And stop holding them to this hostage because they're human.
Yeah, no, and that, you know what, and that's a realization that you come to, a growing pain as an adult, that your parents are human. Like my mom to this day will have conversations and say, I regret not doing this. And it's like, Ma, I forgive you because I knew you operated from the best level that you could.
Lay it on the altar, lay it on the couch.
Right. I mean,
like you can lay it on both places.
I appreciate now that she looks back and she's like, oh, I wish I would have done this differently, which we all
Thank
do
goodness
that
your
as
mom
parents.
did, because not everybody has a parent that'll
we
be
know
that
no.
self-reflective.
I'm like, Ma, you sacrificed a lot. She was a single mom working 3 jobs. So she wasn't perfect, but I definitely appreciate what she was going through a lot of times,
Yeah.
Now that I'm older and I'm a mom and I'm a grown Black woman, I understand some of right. So you see your parents are not perfect.
That's a natural progression of adulthood, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so the flip side that I wanted to kind of bring up was, while we don't necessarily need to hold our parents, we don't need to hold them hostage, right, for how we were raised. There's this other phenomenon within our community where adult children feel incredibly obligated
Mm.
to care for
Yeah.
their parents, to pay them back for raising them.
Yeah.
So, Mom, I owe you a house because you sacrificed and put food on the table. That is a parent's job.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like an
That-
appreciation. You just feel
No,
like,
No.
okay, so because this reminds me, my mother used to say, I just want you all to grow up.
Appreciation, right? Meaning you value something and you increase the value of it. That is very different than holding your children hostage and going into debt, then making sacrifices and it causing issue in their intimate relationship. And you trying to put yourself before the best interest of your child because they owe you, because
Yeah.
you raised them. That is different.
But I don't know if parents give that message all the time. I think it's just a natural progression. Because my mother never said to me, "Oh, you should do this."
Honey,
But I just
have
felt,
seen parents that say,
yeah,
I'm doing this because when
Yeah.
you get older, I need
Yeah.
a house. Or
yeah,
I'm doing
that's true.
this
I need
because
that
when you
scholarship
go-
money. I need to get that scholarship.
I invested in you and I need this investment to pay
Yeah,
off.
that's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. And ooh.
I have had women, and it's mostly I see, well, no, because there are some men that I've worked through this with, but I've had people sit across on my couch and say, I gotta buy my mama a house first, and then once she's good,
Ooh,
then
now
I
see,
can
I don't
do
agree
for
with that.
myself.
I can see why.
And
they
I
would
think,
want to,
see,
yeah.
like you bring up some really valid points because I think, whatever your religious or spiritual convictions are, there'll be a similar sentiment that, honor thy mother and father so that thy
Yeah.
days may be long. And I think there's some things problematic and taken out of
Mhm.
context.
Mm-hmm.
But if we really, really want to go there and talk about generational wealth building, then
Mhm.
there's some other decisions that need to be made. Like, to your point, you were saying like going into debt to buy your mom
Yeah,
like this super extravagant house because maybe you feel guilty. What are some other ways that you can still
Right.
say thank you or be in appreciation?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's what I was gonna say. My mother,
Yeah.
that was her thing. She was that type of mother who we would be like, Mom, what do you want for Christmas? And she's like, I don't really want anything. We all got expenses, blah, blah, blah. And she would
sounds
also
very
say,
healthy.
I just want you to grow up and make something of yourself.
She sounds very healthy.
I want you to make something else. Now, me, I've been to mama. I'm like, you can give me a little something for Mother's Day. You can give me a little something. Now, you ain't gotta break the bank, but you can show a little appreciation.
And I
but my
think
mother is so much more selfless than I
that's
am.
why I think,
But of course, I don't expect my kids to grow up and buy me a house. But
Right.
just make something of yourself. Be self-sufficient.
And I think that's why also economically we're not reaching parity because we are putting our emphasis on the wrong things. Like,
Mhm.
because you are, maybe raising a male child without a father, you don't have to reward him or kind of indulge him in this way where you're getting him, the new Jordans. Like, you're gonna take him out of school to go wait in line. I used to be a teacher, like go wait in line at
What?
3 a.m. at Foot Locker for these Jordans to come out because you feel
Girl,
bad.
Be quiet. Ain't nobody
Because
no.
There's not a father
Uh-uh.
or a male presence. So you
Right.
indulge.
They're taking them out of school to go stand in
Take
line.
them out of school to go wait in line.
Right.
Wait, let's
I mean-
let's go to break, and I want to come back because we don't see. I knew we was gonna get all off on a tangent, but I want to come back after the break because I know you have to leave in a little bit. But let's take a quick break, and I wanted to come back and have let's come back into the DV. I'm tripping on that. You take them out of school to get. You know what? I ain't about to fool with these folks. We're going to take a brief break and see when we come back. I want us to shift back to talking about domestic violence and the types of domestic violence, which, by the way, y'all go to blacklove.com. The article is now live with C. Anderson's expertise on the various forms of domestic violence. And we'll get into that because, of course, when we think domestic violence, we think what? Somebody get knocked upside the head. But it's
Yeah.
so much more than that. So let's go to a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll have you break down those different forms.
All right.
Can't do it that new thing. See, I don't know why I trust you. Crazy now, I'm just too on. Maybe now I'm just too gone. Maybe now I'm just looking for that same vibe that you on. Cause I'm out here with my boys, going crazy in this bitch. Overseas, getting bins, no Mercedes in this bitch. We made it out 9 months. Had a baby in this bitch. I'm with your babe on the run, like I'm Jay-Z in this bitch. I'm smoking out when I get great. My ball out, no SBs. I coach rock, you got serving that beat stop, no step team. I can't do it, that's real shit. No one came, but I feel this. Feel the kid when I feel bass. I'm still be spitting that well. Spit if I shut it down, we do that. Hell yeah, we do that. I'm giving it crazy eyes. All my shit that new black gold. That's why I think about it. Trust me, that's why I drink about it. Talk it out, but it's all good to this too. As I think about it. Out of my place, but I stay in my soul. Look me right in my face. She can see through my soul. I said, don't think about it. I said, don't think about it. She took me out of my place, but I stay in my zone. Let me right in my face. She can see through my soul. I said, don't think about it. I said, don't think about it. Came up as a church boy with my youth on weekends. When waking up at like 6, man, you don't get paid if you sleep in, man. You don't know where I come from. You don't know what I've been through. Realize I don't say shit about all the bread that I sent you. Getting mad, I'm sitting back, I'm fucked up, I'm getting trash. Gotta go watch 2 gold chains and I go real like Trinidad. Trick on the man, that like you know me. Popping up like a second, man. I rap like it's loaded. I keep my crew hot, your crew not. We too sick, no blue shot. On this side, it's all big, man. I ain't dissing on too hot, just East Coast, all East Coast. These young bloods don't know better. Most of y'all got no chill, they'll get it poppin' in slow weather. Some kids just need love, they'll put in work, but like no shut up. Looking up to them dope boys, they got bands like coach, shut up. Yeah, just remember, I might act girl for dinner. I'm the man year round, January to December. She take me out of my place, but I stay in my zone. Look me right in my face, she can see through my soul. I said, don't think about it. I said, don't think about it. She take me out of my place, but I stay in my zone. Look me right in my face, she can see through my soul. I said, don't think about it. I said, don't think about it. She take me out of my place, but I stay in my zone. Look me right in my face, she can see through my soul. I said, don't think about it. I said, don't think about it. She take me out of my place, but I stay in my zone. Look me right in my face, she can see through my soul. I said, don't think about it. I said, don't think about it.
I think that just reminded me of shout out to Calvin Mann of Encourage Me, I'm Young, his Future Leaders mentoring program. It's just outstanding. Berhinder and I were talking about just those things that our families are missing in their dynamics. And that's something like as a social worker, I've seen like parents fighting their kids. I mean, it's just, you would just be like, okay. But then this is just like a way of life for people too. We have to look at it through a trauma-informed lens.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I have to remind people as well, because a lot of times we will sit back and judge moms or dads that we see on social media and et cetera. You don't know what trauma has come with that family. So, and that is what leads to sometimes domestic violence in the home, because that's just the norm in the family. Like in our family, we yell. I mean, we yell. You know, and I had to realize that's a form of domestic violence, such yelling and arguing.
Mm-hmm.
So let's come to the different forms of domestic violence. A lot of times we think of it's just physical, but it's much more than that. So give us a breakdown of that.
Okay. So the most recognizable for most people is physical violence, right? Whether you are using a weapon, whether you're using your hands or fists or feet as a weapon, people recognize that. But what people don't always recognize with the naked eye is emotional abuse. And emotional abuse can look like degradation, minimizing the target's accomplishments. It can look like name calling. It can look like bringing up moments that were shared in private to embarrass the individual. It could look like using traumatic experiences that maybe they've experienced to embarrass or make them feel worse, to kind of compound whatever that trauma was. Then there's psychological abuse. Psychological abuse can show up in ways of cognitive manipulation, so gaslighting, making someone call their own sanity and reality into question. It can look like playing, mind games, right? So making someone jealous with the intent of making someone jealous. Like, this is something that you are purposely doing to this person. Another form of abuse is financial abuse. So making someone account for every dollar that they spend, giving someone an allowance, not allowing them full access to a bank account or to money. That can also look like you aren't working, but you make the target go out and work and bring back all of the money to spend however, but they don't get anything, right? Another one that is very, very common that most people don't realize is sexual abuse in a relationship. This can involve reproduction, so the person's reproductive organs, forcing them to have to impregnate someone or to become pregnant, not giving them access to birth control or contraceptives, not allowing your partner to have a vasectomy, if they choose. It can also look like coercive rape. That happens a lot of times where if you don't have sex with me, guess what? I'm not paying for the kids' daycare. If you don't have sex with me, guess what? I'm going to call your boss and tell them that you're stealing money from the company. Or you don't get access to these basic needs unless you give me sexual favors or have sex with people that I deem you to have sex with. I've seen all of this happen. Another thing that people don't understand is you can be raped by your partner. You can be forced to have sex by your partner. And if you are having sex and in the midst of the sexual act, you decide that you don't want to continue and they continue, that is considered to be spousal rape. So yes, a woman can be raped by her husband and a husband can be raped by his wife, or you can be raped by your marital partner.
And that was legal up until, I believe, 1992, that you could rape your wife. So even when all of these things happen, I love C brings that up, you couldn't even prosecute.
Right.
So you had no leg to stand on.
Not one.
Yeah. So if you wanted to leave.
Okay, so Cito, but I gotta go. Okay. So I need a little bit more detail on how a woman can rape a man. Now this came up with the Bridgerton, who I don't know whomever watched Bridgerton. It was a whole big thing.
Oh yeah.
That scene where she wouldn't get off of him.
Yes, that's rape. That is rape.
I'm okay. I guess that's what we've been socialized to believe in society. Like, how's a woman raping you as a man? You are not going to stay erect, are you? If you being raped? I'm confused.
Here's the thing. Your body responds to touch, sensation, right? Arousal is psychological.
That's right. Okay. And that's why we say with kids, don't say good touch, bad touch, because those bad touches feel good.
But
sometimes.
Here's the other thing. I talked to men, and men have shared their stories about being molested by men when they were younger and having erections and being confused as to whether or not they identified as homosexual or heterosexual.
Wow.
Because you don't have control over that. Somebody can piss you off and touch you a certain way, and your vagina can still secrete.
Wow.
You can still have secretions.
That's that crazy
your
love right there.
For sex. The same thing happens with men, and so we have to really start to understand that, number one, sex is biological and psychological, right? So So yes, a man can be sexually assaulted.
Okay.
A man can be
So sexual abuse,
know,
psychological. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
can be raped.
Okay.
I've talked to men who have woken up to a woman having straddled him because he had, he's erect in his sleep.
Right.
Having straddled him, and he wakes up to the woman, having sex with him. That's not consent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's not consent.
And just like
Or,
we get, and just like we get it misconstrued that men can't be victims of DV, so or survivors.
So one day, and this is not a formal survey, but one day I asked a question anonymously on social media, and it was for men, and I said, how many men have been slapped, punched, kicked, or hit with something by their female partner? Of all the men that responded, 70% of those that responded to my question had been hit, punched, or hit with something by their female partner.
Has that happened to you, Manju? No, never. No chick hit you, Manju, like that. Cause see, Manju, we from the east side, so that's probably they already know they ain't going down like that, huh?
He said,
He like, no, I
no.
don't even know. But
No,
then you're
that-
right.
It hasn't happened to me. And it won't happen.
But you're right. See, because as women, we feel like you shouldn't be hitting me, but I can hit you.
And that's
see, that's a problem.
My gender protects me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Because whatever your gender is,
Mhm.
you have the right to defend yourself against someone trying to harm you. And I tell women all the time, that's you smacking your man, or whatever this is, like you mush him in the face. That's no, because guess what? He has the right to defend himself. He's probably bigger than you, so it's gonna be a little different.
Right. Because my husband's hand is big as my whole face. Like seriously. So
And then we have
real.
to take some ownership.
It's not okay. It's women, like I tell women all the time, it is not okay. It's not cute. You're not doing it for the gram. You mad because you went through his phone and you saw something and you got upset, and now you smacking him or you hit. No,
and then because if he smack or hit you back, it's gonna be a problem.
I saw a video on TikTok where a girl, you know how your phone, it can say who's calling you, and the phone was like, oh, I don't know, Barbara is calling, and the girl was drinking something, and she spit in the guy's face and said, who's Barbara? That's assault.
And this was supposed to be funny. This was supposed to be a funny.
Right, it's supposed to be funny. That's not funny.
No, because you spitting on me. See, that's a turn. That is egregious spit right there.
And I think that's where the
No.
emotional intelligence pieces do come in. And it's like, let's define love, because does love require you to humiliate someone that you said that you love? Why would you want to be with someone that you have to mush upside the head or you choke each other?
Right.
Is that really love, or are you lonely? Like what is the purpose of the relationship? All of our interactions must have purpose, right? And meaning. And I love one of the pastors that I will shout out to, Pastor Greg over at Celebration Spiritual Center. And he said this, they say things like, oh, you're representative of the 5 people that you keep closest to you. And he says, no, I'm representative of the 5 pieces of consciousness. What are the 5 thoughts that I think about regularly? And so if you're constantly in community with people that say, girl, if I were you, I would do da-da-da-da-da. You gonna let your woman talk to you like, well, why are we animals to be subdued?
Right.
What and and that's a great question that you bring up, because I hear women all the time say, well, he can't handle me. And I'm like, well, you handle animals. Animals have handlers.
Right. The culture is just different now, how we communicate in relationships. So it's just
everybody wants to be savage. Like, okay,
exactly.
so like really, like, let's unpack that.
Your feelings are, you know what? And shout out to Dr. Rose Moten, who said today, I don't know if you saw her post where she was saying how she was talking to her clients about self-betrayal, how you continue to see people, you continue to look on their social media, you continue to interact with them, even though they have traumatized you. And you're not going to be healed in the same place where you traumatized. And I was like, that's absolutely correct. Like people say, oh, well, let them still see you because your success is their revenge. No, I don't want them to see me. I don't want to see them.
Right.
If
Right.
we're
if you're
severing a
successful,
relationship,
why do you care?
exactly. But that's the thing. That's exactly what I said to someone. I said, well, I'm gonna be successful whether they watching or not. So
Right.
it's not for me to
That's
gloat to
I'm
them.
like, let haters motivate.
Yeah, let your haters motivate you. And then,
Whatever.
like you said, we so savage, we don't want to admit my feelings are hurt.
Yeah.
My feelings are hurt. Like my feelings. We have this thing now where it's like you have to prove I'm unbothered. When actually you are.
You're totally bothered.
Let's admit
Very
that
bothered.
things do hurt. Things do hurt. That person
Very
did hurt your
bothered.
feelings. That did.
And
that
it's okay to say that.
And
it's
it's
okay
okay
to
to
admit
say
that.
that.
That hurt my feelings.
Like I'm upset or I'm pissed, right?
Right.
Like, you really did me dirt.
Right. I feel
It's
ashamed right now. I said, yeah, it's okay to admit that. Like and people are so concerned with, oh, let me show them. No, I need to show myself.
Because whose
how am I
space
gonna
are you
give?
trying to say? Like, who are these people that you're performing for?
Exactly. And that's why my thing has always been like, no, I don't. And they like keep your enemies close and your friends close, your enemies close, or whatever. No, I don't want them in my realm of space. Like if we've severed a relationship, I'm unfriending you,
Yeah.
I'm blocking you, I'm
And the only
deleting
enemy
you.
you
I don't
got
wanna,
is you. That's the only real enemy that any of us have. It's me.
Yeah.
It's
You
the
and me.
it's the
Well.
unhealed parts
Yep.
of me that are allowing certain behaviors to perpetuate. So if I have an
And that
enemy, it's me.
ego, That ego, I'm telling
Listen.
you, will have you doing things and saying
Got you
things.
cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Hello.
Just
Yes.
out here.
wait a minute, y'all talk about the ego a little bit more because that's also something as women we ascribe that to men a lot of times.
Oh, but let's
women,
talk about that female ego.
right? We got egos too. I had to admit.
And she is she is
A mess.
yes.
When she is a mess. She is a mess at times.
Yes.
She
Yes.
is a mess.
And then if you in company, my ego and your ego sitting by the fire. I mean, y'all just got you out here.
feeding off each other.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and that's why you said
And
certain. That's why
nobody
certain relationships.
wins.
Nobody.
Nobody wins when the ego leads. Nobody wins.
Child, we
You
know this
actually
as being
do a
in
lot of
relationships,
damage.
and I know C and I are married. Miranda, you got a boo?
I'm dating.
I had to ask right quick. 'cause
Okay.
I mean, Brenda's so fine and luscious. Yeah, somebody better be getting on Brenda. Shoot.
Now I'm about
better
to
be
get.
getting
Now I'm
on
about to
these
get all these DMs. Hey,
Y'all better-
gorgeous.
Look, but come correct. Let me say this now. Don't be sliding in her DMs with no BS, okay? Brenda is, as a lot of people like to say, top quality woman or whatever the phrase is now. Top quality man. They kill me with these phrases. High quality or whatever. No, but seriously, in relationships, we do have to check ourselves. I have to. Yeah.
It's nothing like a relationship to show you who you are.
Woo-hoo.
Your relationship is your. I was just getting ready to say that your
I
relationship
see
is
mine
a
you
mirror.
nodding too. We should get Alex to call in and
You attract the unhealed pieces of you.
That's it. You only attracting you.
Yeah. Yeah, so people say, oh my God, like these horrible men just keep on. Why they just? I'm like, baby, it's you, sis.
right,
That's it.
right,
It's you.
Right.
So let's dig into that.
right.
It's always about you. Anything. I'm a firm believer that we are the co-creators of our experience.
That's
Yeah.
it. Take some
And
ownership.
it is so important. You cannot grow without taking accountability for where you are and how you got there.
Yeah. So wait a minute, let's go back to see a little bit to how a DV survivor, how a DV victim moves from becoming victim to survivor. And that's part of taking that accountability to say, I need to get out of this relationship.
Yeah.
I
And remember, that's not blame, right? Blame is saying the cause, right? The only cause in an abusive relationship is an abuser. That's the cause of abuse, okay? Not mental health issues, not alcohol, not drugs. People abuse because they are abusers. When we talk about accountability and shifting from victimhood, right, victimization, to being someone who is healing and healed and thriving and living, that's a very different mindset. And so the very first thing I would say is understanding the cause of the current situation.
get to the root.
You
it
have to understand what is happening. You cannot do anything until you understand that you are in something that is bigger than you, that you cannot change, can't fix, can't make better. You can pray all day, be on your knees for 5 hours. You, the person, cannot change an abuser. Okay? The second thing is, how do you figure out what your next move is? Who is there to support you as you figure this out? Because it's not just, it's not something that you figure out overnight.
Mhm.
It's a
plan.
process. It's an undoing.
Okay.
Because
Because I love Enough. That was one of my favorite movies. She was planning that for like over a year. Like she was.
What movie?
Enough
With Jennifer Lopez?
with Jennifer Lopez.
Oh, I gotta go back and watch.
Yes, but you could tell she had been planning. Or another example.
Invisible Man.
Okay, I didn't see that.
The movie where the guy makes the suit, that this new technology that can make you invisible, and his wife, he was abusive to her, and she leaves, and then he frames his death to get her in trouble. It's a white lady. I can't think of what her name is.
That was an updated of the Invisible Man, because I know it's one from back in the day. That's an updated.
No, it's
different.
based on the Ralph Ellison book. This is a totally different.
Oh,
Yeah.
ooh. So it takes some planning.
It's really good, but she's playing like she's playing this out.
Yeah.
Has
Okay, it
plans
takes time.
where she could go, et cetera, right? It's an undoing of a very nuanced and layered dynamic. It's not just, oh, he's hitting me, let me leave. It's, will he try to kill me? Will she try to kill me? Will she try to ruin my life? I have seen situations where people want to leave, but during an abusive episode, their abuser has made them confess or sign things that weren't true and threaten their livelihood.
All of this energy you put into.
Narcissistic people don't like to lose. So guess what? Once you are set in their crosshairs, you're going to be there for a while. They will lose everything before they lose to you. Or lose you.
Now that reminds me of what I was reading. And shout out to Nicole Beverly. She was my guest last year. Her book, Finding Nicole. She was married to her abuser for about 9 years, I want to say. And she had 2 sons by him. And he's now in prison. But after they got divorced, after he had, beat her and tortured her, she divorced him. But then he was stalking her after the divorce. And it's like, even when he was in prison, he was trying to hire people to kill her.
Happens all the time.
I'm like, bruh,
Let it
go.
But you have to remember
But
that Rocki,
like for years.
You're seeing it from the mind of someone who is rational and healthy. Abusers are not.
I'm a little, but not that crazy. I'm just not that level of crazy. But right, because I'm like, it's like he was transferred to different facilities. They had like a trail of people that he had tried to get to kill the wife, like if they were being recently released or whatever. I
went to a conference for an organization, the Family Justice Center, which is a national organization that helps victims of abuse, and I've mentioned that organization.
Right. By the way, familyjustice.org is a great resource, you all. Familyjustice.org.
And so I went to the conference, and there was an attorney, and at the time I finished my degree as a therapist, and I was thinking about going into law school because I was like, I'm going to help these women and these men get it together. I'm going to law school. So I was talking to one of the speakers who was an attorney, and she was also a victim of stalking, and she had been stalked for 20 years.
Oh my God.
The same man. And even at the time that she spoke to me at the conference, she explained that he was still stalking.
Why was he not in prison? Because stalking is illegal now. So why weren't you in prison?
The laws take so long to catch up with new tactics, right? So even if that person isn't standing outside your door in the bushes, they're using technology. A lot of laws are antiquated and they've not been brought up to date to reflect cyber abuse and harassment and stalking. I had one woman where her abuser somehow had gotten into the network of her home internet system. I don't know the technical, you know what I mean.
Her security?
Network. There we go. Network. Your home internet network.
Oh, okay. Okay. Like her Wi-Fi.
Yeah, there we go.
Her Wi-Fi. Okay.
All her stuff. I had another woman that we were just kind of talking in the grocery store and mentioned that her ex-husband somehow had tapped into her phone, knew where she was all the time, would show up. I mean, if where there is a will, there's a way.
Right. All of this energy you put into it.
If someone has the will to ingratiate themselves into your life, they can do it.
So what do we do as and so first I want to ask, what do you recommend to and Brenda, have you worked with people with DV issues? I'm sure as a teacher, all you've done. I'm sure you have. And all of us have either experienced domestic violence or known someone. It's like we've all had an auntie, a cousin, or someone, or ourselves have experienced it. But what for what I've learned from Nicole and from UC, making sure you're documenting everything, like when you're trying to plan that escape. Like
so the first thing is take it seriously. You don't know what someone will do. I don't put anything past anybody. So take it seriously. Document it. Documentation can be in several ways. You can have your therapist document things. You can have family members document, keep text messages, emails, etc., security camera footage. Also, you can go to your local police department and not file a charge, but file a report to document an occurrence that will remain on the official record. They won't notify the person, but you can go and say, hey, I have these pictures, or I came home and someone had, graffiti, or, whatever happened. I like this documented in a police report.
Okay, so you don't have to necessarily press charges.
No.
You could just say, I just want this okay, so that's a good, because people probably don't even know that you could just go just to.
People are afraid of pressing charges because there's a risk of retaliation, right? It's a very scary thing.
And let's be honest, the police don't always follow up. And when you talk to a police officer, you need to request to speak to an officer who is either in the special victims department or someone who is trained and educated to handle domestic violence. And hopefully they have one.
You do not want to be caught who's in traffic. You want someone who understands and knows how to talk with a victim. Mm-hmm. Those are the first, so take it seriously. Documentation. And just talk to an officer.
Oh, okay. I think we're
You
back.
there?
I think we're back.
Okay. And designate one person who you trust to keep your information safe. Get a PO box that's outside of your home, a safety deposit box that's outside of your home, where you can keep either the original documents or copies of important documents, like your birth certificate, like your social security card, like your children's, health insurance cards, things like that you'll need that sometimes abusers will kind of hold, and you may need them to start, a new life, as a part of your recovery. But it's like, oh, he has it, he's not going to give it to me.
Wait a minute. So you said a word here as part of your recovery. See, why did you say recovery as if they were an addict? Because that's usually a word you associate with an addict.
So recovery is a process of going back and getting yourself.
Okay.
We recover from illnesses, surgery, natural disasters. This is something that you have to take seriously and recover from. it's a process. It's a process of having to heal and to find yourself and to figure out what is next in your life. And then if you have children, what is next for you all? So think about it this way. When a plane or crashes or somebody gets lost in the woods, they do a search and rescue, right? The goal is to go in to find the individuals and to recover, to bring back what they have found, right? What they see, to go back and get this person. Go back and get yourself.
It's a rediscovery. So,
Yeah.
see, I don't know how much longer you got, and I really appreciate you. So, if you need to hop off at any time, see, I really appreciate it. And as always, it's good connecting with you. Shout out to Melanie for connecting us.
Absolutely.
And yes, ladies, you're both on Facebook. So, see, yeah, please.
Yeah, make sure.
I'm
Yeah,
sure you
for
are.
sure.
I could definitely see you both on a panel or some event. I definitely see something in the future.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to ask, though, see, as people helping and supporting survivors and victims.
Yeah.
What frame of mind should we be in? Like, how can we do that? And feel free to chime in, Brandon, if you.
Oh, of course. One of humility, not one of authority, not one of knowing what's best for another person. Remember that this loved one, this person that you care about, you have probably no idea the horrors that they have been through. The psychological programming that has taken place, the threat that has been made, right? The fragmentation that now exists in their person. And so the best thing that you can do when you're approaching someone and you want to offer help is to say, I love you, I care about you, I'm not judging you, but if you ever need somebody, I'm here when you are ready.
When you are ready.
When you are ready. When you need me, I am here. Tell me how I can support you. That's different than going in and saying, girl, you need to leave and you come stay with me. Come on, I'm about to go with you and pack your bag. No. That's
Sometimes we like when that girlfriend
I know.
come swoop us in it. You like, look, put the ponytail on. Let's go. And the sticker. Let's go. So did you want to add to that, Brenda?
You have to leave the decisions up to the person. And even if it may not be a decision that you agree with, where, maybe they go back. And that's not what obviously you want. You can't make people do things. You just can't, even if it's no matter how detrimental it is, but also on the person that's I love what you said on the post today about thriving versus surviving.
Yeah.
In my experience, and I don't talk about it publicly, but just even in my own healing journey from domestic violence, I'll say this. That's what I told myself within the first 48 hours, that I'm a thriver.
Absolutely.
Because
that's different than surviving. Surviving is just like, I'm just making it. Thriving is like, woo, I'm making it and I'm like excelling.
I told myself I'm a thriver.
One of the things about survivors is, I hate to use this analogy, but just bear with me. There's an accident, right? And people their bodies are broken, scattered all over the place, right? And there are survivors. They might have one leg, they may have had head injuries, and they may be doing not too great and pretty close to death, right? Those are survivors. That's not what I want. That's not what I want for people. I want people to heal, to be as whole as possible, to be able to live the life and walk into whatever purpose or destiny that may have been either empowered or delayed in some way by this experience, by what has happened. But I don't want broken people that are barely living survive.
Because like you said, Brenda, so that's what came in. Yeah. So how long ago was this for you, Brenda?
I want to say 7 years ago.
Okay.
And I think that's the catalyst. It was the catalyst for the work I'm doing now. And it might sound, and I don't want to, in any way, shape, form, or fashion, victim blame or shame. But for me, it was super important to get to a place to where I could forgive. Not because you don't need to be held accountable. It's just I don't want to be tied to you energetically for the rest of my life. So the reason why I can't start my business is because the reason why I can't go on this trip is because the reason why, if you're on my page, you see the Black girl baptism. I mean, my sister out here in Puerto Rico living our best life. The reason why I can't put on this one is because I don't always want to be tied to a Judas. Like I don't want to, look up and my life has passed me by because I'm still telling this story.
Yeah.
And so it was like for me, what story do I want to tell? And I had to tell people, which was embarrassing. There was some embarrassment, there was some shame, around it. And it's like, how could this happen to me? I've done work with the Sasha Center. I've done Take Back the Night. So like, how did I miss, love and other drugs? Like it's intoxicating. And when you're coming from a broken place, you make different decisions when you're in that space. So I had to forgive that version of myself that, even allowed it to
That
to be
version of
possible.
yourself, child.
That version
Oh.
of me. And so, like I said, I don't talk about it much. I haven't, outside of my family and, some close friends, because I wanted to make sure that if I do speak about it, I'm coming at it from a whole place and not from this vindictive, reliving, like telling it like a war story.
Yeah.
It's something that happened for me to come into this deeper awareness in the space that and to really love myself. And so that was really my journey into like really like for real. Spirit told me, dig a well of love so deep for yourself that it becomes bottomless.
Yes.
And that was,
Love
and then
that.
that's still, it's still, still the work. And even with it, like I would never say that there aren't any good Black men out here. There isn't. Stop it.
It's a lot, honey.
Yes.
It's a lot.
Just
Love them.
Cause
They out
hear you
here.
They out
saying
here.
Is that you untied yourself.
I like
And
we said,
that
not want to be tied energetically.
Yeah,
And you said it happened
untied-
for me. I love
that's-
that's what Chanel Everett said too as well. I'm sorry, see.
Are you good?
I love when Chanel Everett, who was on my show, I want to say back in May or probably April or May. And she has her book, You're Invited to Show Up, where she said things happen for you, not to. And that's like changing that mindset. Like even those bad things, it happened for a reason.
Right.
When you're in the midst of it. So, but I love how you tying it in, like it happened for me, and I didn't want to be tied to them energetic.
Yeah. I think that people need to really, like you were saying, forgiveness is not for anybody else. That's for you. When you untie yourself, folks need to be out here cutting some cords.
Come on.
It's real. And being able to transmute that into self-love. Like, I think that when you talked about the message that Spirit gave you about that bottomless well of love for yourself, I realized that you can't do anything if you are not in love and loving on yourself.
That's right.
It is the core. It's the basis. And a lot of people, I get a lot of women that say, I don't think I love me.
Because they taught not to. You taught not to be happy or you're because that's seen as being arrogant, right?
And
I'm
it's not
supposed to
bubble
be-
baths and rose either.
All right.
Right. It's being able to put up boundaries.
Right.
It's
I was about to
being
say,
able
and sometimes it's saying no.
Yeah,
Sometimes
it's
it's
being
taking
able to
yourself to lunch.
say-
Sometimes it's a quiet space where you demanding, don't come in here. I'm reading.
Yes.
I'm relaxing. Like I've had to learn to do that with my family. Like
that I'm not going to abandon, and I will no longer abandon me for anybody or anything. Never again.
So what? Wait a minute, right quick, while we got you, see, self-care is not selfish. Explain that. I love what she was like. Self-care is not, but like you said, it's not always a bubble bath or whatever. It's different forms.
Yeah, so there's different dimensions of self-care. So like, while I love some rosé and I love me a good bubble bath, that would be like the physical care. If you're into some other things, it could, that could fall under the spiritual care, right? If you want to put some candle in your bath water, some lavender oil, some light your candles, and you want to chant and meditate, that's the spiritual, self-care.
Because that's your business.
Mm.
As I as Tabitha would say, because that's your business.
We gonna chat.
Yes,
'Cause
ma'am.
I
love
call them
it.
cute, honey. I call them cute.
Mhm.
So you have the emotional, right? Making sure that, like you were saying earlier, that you don't have people in your space that, number one, cause you to question who you are and your greatness and your
Mm.
beauty and your purpose.
Come on. Come on. Oh, we're
Right?
talking about them gallon size people. Come on.
Okay, now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's on several levels. It's not just the bubble bath and the spa day. Some people you can't bubble bath depression away.
Mm-mm.
Okay, you can't manicure a toxic partner out of your life.
It's a no.
And believe it or not, sometimes self-care is hard because
It's
you're digging
intentional.
into things and you're making choices
Yeah.
for yourself that we are constantly receiving messages about not doing. Be nice. Women are raised and
Child.
socialized to be kind and to be docile.
I don't have to
and
smile
be-
at you all the time.
I don't want to
Now
smile.
look, I'm taking care of business. Don't be
Right.
talking about can you smile? Shit. Go on somewhere. I'm trying to get my rose and my toilet paper. You talk about smiling. Get your ass somewhere. I'm mad in this moment because no one cares. No one says that when it's a white woman who mad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's
Uh-huh.
okay. It's warranted for her to be mad, but let me be mad. It's a problem. Like
It's warranted. The angry black woman trope.
right. And
Let's
sometimes,
not
yes, I
even-
am angry for a valid reason.
Mm-hmm.
Let me be angry because y'all can be angry. I mean, come
And
on.
anger causes separation. So maybe there's some things I need to depart from.
Mhm.
Right. Maybe I needed to get angry to
Angry
bring me some
enough.
clarity about some stuff.
Because if you
What's
get
the thing?
mad enough, I mean, you're going to keep laying on the nail or you're going to get up.
Ooh,
Hello.
ooh, come on,
And I want
somebody.
women to also understand it's okay to outgrow friends.
Why you go there?
Mm.
Now see,
Now,
ain't it
see,
time for you to get off? See, why you go there?
that's the other breakup.
I need you to
don't
get out
think
my business.
we
I
talk enough about, and especially like in entrepreneurship,
Yes.
like when
Oh,
you really
God.
start growing and like, I'm serious, like if you want to take your business from a hobby into something like really deriving an income from it, there's just some, that goes back to the cultural agreements. You know, your friend from childhood is not necessarily going to go with you into this next stage of your life. And so
That's
I
me right
understand
now. That's me. right
loyalty. I get that. But if
Mhm.
their toxicity is going to keep you from arriving at your purpose, you don't want at the end of your life to have to account for your life. And well, why didn't you well, you know, I didn't want to leave my
Mhm.
friend
now. See,
behind.
and that's the thing. We that's a grieving that we go through too, because that's
It's a real
exactly what I've
grieving.
gone
Yeah.
through, separating from friends that I've known for half my life. You know, you've known them for
Relationships
half
are
your life.
relationships,
That's right.
whether it's a romantic partner or whether it's your sister friend. And
Mhm.
so just
And
like
that one hurts worse.
relationships,
And really,
they require cultivation as you evolve. Sometimes it's time to break it off.
ooh,
Sometimes
you know what?
it's time to end it.
Okay, so this is my conflict with that because the people whom
Rocki, you got some people you need to cut off. You struggling?
no, actually, I have. That's what I'm saying.
But you're mourning.
Exactly.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
what I
yeah,
am. I'm in the
yeah.
mourning phase now. I am in the mourning.
Yeah.
I'm grieving friendships that have been lost.
mourning.
People who I've known, some of them since I was a teenager,
Mhm.
and then as late as into my 20s. I mean, or late teens, early 20s. These women were in my wedding. They were godparents to my children. They, you know, they were at pivotal moments in my life. When when I had death in the family, when sickness,
Have
all
you
of that.
done a eulogy for them?
No.
Maybe you
No,
should.
but
I
I'm
mean,
in,
just-
but I'm in it.
just
When
in
you
the
said
healing,
that,
I
see,
just
I'm
wanna-
like,
yeah.
that is, and like you said,
Yeah.
sometimes it's harder when you
Eulogize it.
grieve those relationships because we are taught that men come and go, that you can't get too
Mhm.
attached. And even though I am married and I don't see myself without him, that is still your girlfriends. Those I have cut some people off, and that's what I was saying. People who I've deleted and blocked and all of that.
But you
because
bless them though too.
That's true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that, like, when you hold
Yeah.
on to things that are expired, right? Expired milk starts to stink, right?
Yeah. And you try to hold on to the relationship because you want them to be there because they're the ones who were there before you.
But they don't have to be there in
Expect-
that capacity. the capacity can change, right? Like you don't have to be in my inner circle. It may have been time to rotate. It may have been time to let somebody else in.
Yeah, and you're right. I haven't eulogized that, right? Because I felt like, yeah, everybody can't go, but it's great when you can enjoy it with people who knew you when. Yeah, you know who've seen your growth, so to speak. So that's hard when you have to separate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, you have to be accountable to the part that you fucked up. Like
I was just going to say, the toxic person is not always the other. Sometimes it's you.
Sometimes I was a toxic person, but I just felt like the certain things were not reciprocated.
Yeah.
So
okay.
So but like you said, that's happened over the past few years of me turning over, transitioning into media and doing what I'm doing.
Well, what cells take, your body regenerates itself every 7 years. So, I mean, relationships are much the same way. Put them up for review. You don't have the same body you had 7 years ago.
Yeah, I don't have the same mind either.
No.
Yeah.
Hello.
So that's, I mean, but you struck a chord there, see, because that is currently my journey. As you said, Berhinda, I'm in the mourning phase of that. And that's what I've been explaining to my therapist. Like, I'm ready to be out of that, though. I'm sick of mourning.
So eulogize them.
I'm ready to be over it. Like I'm annoyed with myself for still having these feelings.
What did you say? They buried themselves?
So how do you eulogize them? What do you mean by that? Like I write a eulogy? Like what?
If you need to.
About the relationship? Like,
here lies this relationship. It served its purpose.
Yeah.
You know, this was my girl for however many years. And I want to thank you for that. And thank you for, you know, putting up with me and my toxicity and all of my stuff. You know, thank you for that. But now I want to lay you to rest and, you know, let us both be free. My blessings to you. I wish you well on your journey too. I want you to win too.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't wish you no ill will, but I just know we're not good for each other, obviously. And that's difficult when you have friends in common though. Right.
Yeah.
But it's hard when you
romantic relationship, we can love each other and not be meant to continue in this way.
Yeah, because I think on Instagram, follow Prentice Hill. Prentice Hill, they have just really great, I would say, just modern day thought leader. What is it? Self-love or no, healthy boundaries are the safest distance between you and me. So that I can love both you and me.
Yeah.
So I can still love you. I can still, you know, root for you. We're just not gonna do it in the same proximity.
Yeah.
That we used to. And like I said, it hurts. So I think that's the other thing too, you know, so you have to stop doing it. Don't act like it don't hurt.
Yeah. Right. No, that's what I've meant.
That's gonna prolong the healing process when you keep stuffing it down and acting like things don't bother you when they do. And then it's like, well, then how deep was your love in the first place if this person just leaves and you just, you know, pop right back up and you do give it its proper due and honor the relate. It's over and it's okay and it can hurt.
So when you said like, you know, we can root for that person from a distance, it reminded me of a stadium, right? Like a Coliseum where the fans are cheering and you got folks up in the nosebleed and then you have folks that are, you know, I don't know sports. I don't know what that line is called.
Line of scrimmage. Because I don't know either. The scrimmage line.
We know.
Right. But you have folks that are closer to the view of what is, you know, of what's going on in your life. It's everybody's seeing like it's all good. We're still rooting, but they're just not in close proximity to where you are in your life. It's okay.
You have to learn. I have learned you have to compartmentalize people, and then also that God, in a way, has sent other people to give me what I was not receiving from those relationships. But it was hard for me to reconcile that I wasn't receiving that from the people I wanted to receive it.
And maybe they just weren't capable.
Not that.
People are often, despite what we may think or the story that we attach to people's actions, people are often doing the best that they can.
That's right.
Coming back to emotional intelligence. Their emotional intelligence might not be at that level.
It's okay to say, you know what, this isn't of service and isn't healthy because if you stay connected, it could really damage the both of you.
That's right.
It could do some damage. And I certainly wouldn't want to leave a friendship with damage done. Like, I don't think people should break up when things get really bad. People say, oh, I know we're not whatever, but it's not that bad. And I'm like, you don't want to wait for a relationship. It's okay to leave on good terms. It's okay.
Now, do we believe in
It's
closure?
healthy.
I don't know if I believe in closure though. Is that the concept of closure? I think is
people
kind
do.
of, I don't know.
And then I have to run.
Okay.
Here's my thing about closure. I tell people that your healing, whatever that looks like, has to be independent of anybody else. So you may never get that call, text, email, sorry, apology, whatever. You may never get that. And you don't want your healing and your ability to move forward contingent upon somebody else's will.
That's right. And then to add to that, what can they say that's really going to undo what was done? And so let's say you maybe
ain't gonna
get
feel different.
maybe their thought process, and that can only lead to more hurt and then more questions. But ultimately, you know, I like to use Radical Forgiveness. It's an amazing book out there. So shout out to anyone who needs to collapse the story and to heal from, you know, some trauma, some abuse, some blame, some shame, some guilt. You can pull it up. It's on Amazon. Colin Tippin. You can get the Radical Forgiveness worksheets. Is what I do with my clients when we're kind of hung up on what someone has done to us.
Yeah.
You can write out the story. Write out the story from your perspective. There's some compassion, you know, that's part of the story. There's some empathy, and then there's also some sort of like, well, what role did I play?
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
You know, in this, and
I
how
don't
am
want
I
to
framed?
interrupt, but
Yeah.
I gotta run and my tablet is about to die. So I
Okay.
just wanted to say
Thank you. See,
that
where can they
it was-
find you? Tell them
it
right
was
quick where
great
everybody can
meeting
find you.
It was great meeting you
And,
too.
yeah, we'll connect.
Absolutely.
And, my social media is C Anderson Live, CE Anderson LIVE. That's both on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And my website is candersonlive.com. Thank you so much, Rocki. I always enjoy you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you. Thank you for highlighting domestic violence in the ways that you have. Tara, I wish you the best.
Right back
And
to
I
you.
hope to see you ladies on the interweb.
Yes.
Right. Take care. Have a good night. Thank you, C. Thank you so
too.
much.
Good night.
Thank you. So I was trying to come back to what you were saying.
Just the forgiveness, the radical
Yeah.
forgiveness. So
Okay.
if you can't get the closure where you're sitting down with the person, and I mean, I do believe in restorative practice, you know, restorative justice. I do believe that, you know, one needs to be, you know, heard and see if there's ways to repair. But if you can't, there's ways that you don't want it to continue to dominate your life. So the reason why you can't move forward or you can't do something, just keep telling this story. And if you notice, the more you tell the story, the more exaggerated it gets
Did you
bigger.
remember more? I think I'm remembering more now.
Right. And then you just keep adding to it. And so then, you know, our thoughts on repeat become our beliefs. So it's like, what are we believing? And, you know, just to give us all some grace, you are the villain in someone's story. So shout out to Kelly Deals. I don't want to take people's scholarship away, but shout out to Kelly Deals. You are the villain in someone's story.
Yeah.
So just as much as you want to blame, you too are a victim in someone's story. Does that mean that's who you are? No, but that's someone's interpretation of you. And really, we can't control what other people think about us. The only thing that, so we just gotta create that through and just keep moving forward.
Girl. Okay, so let's go on to another break, and then I want to come back and I want to talk about like how we changing the language, and then also the power of girlhood. I want to talk about the work you're doing with that because I love how we have to shape our future generations. It's up to us.
It's on.
So we'll talk about that. When we come back. her best HBCU life. Okay.
Miss Spellman.
Oh, say that again.
So Lauren Godwin, she was a participant in the Power of Girlhood when she was in, I think, middle school and high school, and she is now a junior at Spelman.
I love it. We should connect them. I don't know if she has an Instagram you can send to me.
Mhm.
I was just telling her, for those who were wondering, like, well, where have you been these past few months? Because my last show was in June. I took the summer off to get my daughter. She graduated. We
Mhm.
had open house. Then moved her down to Atlanta to Spelman. So yeah, so let's talk about Brenda. Get to know you a little bit. So you are bilingual.
See.
You speak Spanish.
Mhm.
So is that like from childhood? Do you have Latinx heritage, or you one of these Black folks who know how to speak Spanish?
That's it. I'm just a Black girl that knows how to speak Spanish. So I mean, shout out. So I don't know. I'm Facebook friends with my high school Spanish teacher and my middle school teacher. So shout out to Senora Wolf and Senora Tracy. If y'all listening. I just started in 8th grade and just kept going.
Wow. So all throughout high school, college, or I don't know if you attended college, but
I did. So that's actually my so my degree is in Spanish. So Romance languages with a concentration in Spanish.
I love it. And Spanish is sexy. I love
Mhm.
Spanish.
Oh, what's the thing?
Yeah, it's yeah. So have you ever gone to a Spanish speaking country and spoke Spanish and they looking at you like, what the hell?
Yeah. So I mean, it's so funny. I was in Puerto Rico, and my sister like, come here and translate. So I'm like talking to the Uber, and I'm like, I'm about to send you a invoice because I'm working and I'm working on vacation. But it's just so interesting, and that's a whole other show about how complex the Black identity is. Because when I was in Mexico, they thought I was from Mexico. So that's number one. So there is a whole region, and that's a whole core study. But the Black presence in Latin America. So shout out to Henry Louis Gates. Yeah, but I was in.
It's a lot of Afro Latinx. Yeah, it's a whole.
Yeah. So I was never American, which I thought was so interesting. So I went to Panama, I've been to Puerto Rico, I've been to Mexico, and all through that, it's never American. It's like, oh, are you Dominican? Are you Puerto Rican? Are you Cuban? Or are you from Costa Chica, Veracruz, like the places where there's a significant Black presence? And I'm like, no, I'm from the United States.
Detroit.
Yes, Detroit. What?
Detroit.
What up, though?
Detroit.
Blackity black, black.
As Black as you can be.
Yeah.
From Detroit.
Yeah. A chocolate city.
I love it. I love it. So tell us about the power of girlhood.
Oh, that's my baby. So the Power of Girlhood, I was founded in 2011, and at the time I was a classroom teacher, 10th grade Spanish.
Oh,
And
wow,
I just,
10 years.
yes.
Congrats. Okay.
Thank
10
you. Thank
years.
you. Thank you. And it just occurred to me that girls got to have a space. They have to have a space to be heard, to be felt, to be understood, to heal, to have a place where they can express. I mean, they're just so talented. They're so smart. And it's like they have the inner wisdom. It's just they need the confidence. Right. And so we were talking about emotional intelligence. One of the things that I'm really working toward is allowing them to tap into that. Because a lot of times the girls say things like, oh, I don't want to sound crazy, or I don't want to be dramatic, and it's like, let's not.
Or they're apologizing. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry. I mean, and it's like, don't say sorry for being who you are.
Exactly.
I find we do that a lot. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. And it's like, sorry for what? Being yourself.
And I had to shift the language to, thank you for being patient with me.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Thank you for your grace.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of I'm sorry. Because
I'm anything but sorry. Many things, but I'm not sorry. So I think that just, again, shifting language, the way we say things, the way we communicate, because we would never coddle a boy in that way. Like say that you're sorry, don't apply for that job, or someone's going to think you're too cocky. It's like, we compliment that. But when we see it in a girl, she's being a bitch, or she's being dramatic, or she's too much, or you're so extra. Why? Because I have sovereignty over myself, or because I can clearly articulate to you what I don't like and tell you not to do it. So then I have to be a bag of bees because I'm standing my ground. Yeah. Oh, I've had especially like being a woman and being like a promoter or like a producer of events. I run and it hurts so bad when it comes from Black men. My presence is not a provocation for sex for you. And I'm here very much in a professional capacity, just
Right.
like everyone else. And I remember many moons ago, you know, I was encouraged to go into artist management. I was like, nope, I can't because it's gonna try my nerves too bad.
Mhm.
And
Like as far as singers and
singers,
and
rappers, like I was gonna do, and then I was like,
Child,
mm-mm,
girl,
mm-mm. I was like, it's
that
gonna
would have
upset my
disturbed
nerves.
your energy so.
Yeah.
Girl,
Mm-mm.
it is more than an ocean. Dealing with
It
celebrities,
is.
like for real, it's exciting.
Trying to
but
broker
it's
contract. I was like,
Nah.
mm-mm.
Yeah.
I said, no. It's not worth it because the condescending sweetheart, baby girl,
Or
touching,
touching.
yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, the small.
Why we said that at the same time.
So I say you got to pick and choose, a lane to drive down, and I have a multitude anyway. But I just said, no, they're just the misogyny is just too much.
And the fact that you're going to call it out, and so
Oh,
of course, now
absolutely.
this is going to cause an issue. So talk about what you've done with the power of girlhood. Like
Yeah.
is it workshops, is it different? I know you
All of it.
sponsored some proms. and
Yeah,
different stuff
over the
like
years,
that. And it's for
yeah.
ages
8 to 18. Yeah. And so we originally it was 13 to 18, but I just noticed that a lot of the issues, if we didn't get ahead of it, we had to start younger.
Yeah.
We just had to start. The conversations are happening sooner. You want to shield their innocence, but it's like when you got all of this and Facebook and the TikTok and the Twitter, you can't. And so it's like it'd be better for me to have the conversation with you than you try to Google something.
Right, because we make stuff taboo. When they something like I've always have been insistent, and the social worker in me has always been insistent to teach my kids these are your breasts.
Yes.
This is your scrotum. This is your penis. That's your vagina. And it's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Those are the words.
Those are some life-saving.
Just like this is your nose and that's your ear, this is your penis and vagina. But of course, they are uncomfortable because their peers have taught them, oh, you don't talk about, well, we talk in an explicit manner, derogatory manner. But when we're talking just technical terms, like my son is 10, so he's in puberty and he's asking those questions, which I thank God daddy can answer too. Yeah. But
we had a gynecologist come in and talk to our girls. So she covered everything from top to bottom, everything from, how to care for your body, proper hygiene, all the way to, yes, STDs and protected sex, unprotected sex, and even the psychology that you can say no, like you can say no at any time, because just kind of like that chastity conversation, like, okay, just don't do it. I mean, has that worked? No. So, I mean, if they're going to do it, they have to be educated and be informed.
Yeah. And that was my thing with my daughter, like educating her and talking to her about this is what your body will probably feel. This is, how these are some signs you should look for. Teaching you how to be in tune. Like I remember when she was like 7, I gave her a mirror and had her look at her vagina to be like, look, this is how it looks. If you want to touch it, it's yours. But like you have that license over your body. Yeah. And a lot of times our girls are taught, like when you're developing, to be ashamed. Like, oh, she fast. When we're putting that stuff as adults, because we've been traumatized, we're putting our junk onto them. Like I had to check myself with my daughter to be like, she's not being fast, she's being a kid.
She's being a kid. Or
she's being a growing young adult.
And it's like, well, what makes them fast? Like, what were the behaviors? This is like,
because
again,
if you're
everything.
Wearing something, if you dress, if you're wearing something, if you're asking questions, if you're asking, if you're being precocious, if you're asking questions about sex.
We don't task boys in the same way. We don't take them to task in the same way, and so it's like it takes two. And I just really, wish we would have more of those kinds of conversations, because it's like we raise girls with this notion of you gotta protect yourself, don't entice, don't. It's like, well, what about regulation for our boys?
Yeah.
You have to have behavior modification. You can't just devour everything that comes. Yeah, that's a whole.
Right. So exactly. Self-control. Teach your boys not to do certain things, or not to look at girls in a certain way, or not to make certain implications. Because like manipulating and degrading women, objectifying women is a part of our culture. violence against women is just an okay part of our culture. It's
Yeah.
like a way of life
Yeah.
for a violence in many forms
Mhm.
to happen. It's not just always hitting, but it's violence in other ways where we have to dress a certain way. We have to be worried about how we're appearing. I love, I was watching earlier ESPN2, and it was two black ladies. Oh my God, I should have got their names. But the one lady, she had like a ponytail and it had two braids. And I mean, the hairstyle was just off the chain. And I'm like, look at this. I said, two black women out here.
I love that.
Like, you wouldn't have seen this 20 years ago. A woman with natural hair
No.
or a woman with the ponytail looking, the hairstyle was like, she had like two braids coming down in the middle and a ponytail in the back. And it was, I was like, okay, she's just is doing it. But you would have never seen that.
Yeah. And I think we need to celebrate that because it's like, who are we as people outside of our trauma? Like, I love, and I'm going to shout out my friend Sophia Robinson from the island. She has this whole series called Writing Black Joy. And I love, yeah. And so she interviewed just different Black writers from all over the diaspora to talk about writing and the joy and the narrative and shifting. So I think that you're right. Let's really celebrate that's, our culture creators and purveyors, Motor City Woman Network, just all of these places where we can amplify just narratives other than our trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because what did somebody say? It's trauma porn sometimes
Mhm.
because we talk about so much, and that's a lot of times for me why let's talk about the positive part of this because we are so focused on how bad this is or
That's right.
where we come from, but we're forgetting to be in the midst of the good
Mhm.
that's happening now because as women, we're taught that, okay, something needs to be addressed, something needs to be fixed, we have to maintain something, we've got to
maintain my sanity.
So how do you, with the entrepreneurs that you work with, how do you help them take some of that weight off? Because even some of the conversations, and I still need to come to my session, okay? Because I appreciate Berhinda jumped in my inbox one time and was like, look, we can have a session because I was like, this is the conflict I have. I wish I could just focus on being creative instead of the business aspect. Yeah. I get so frustrated having to juggle being wife, mom, daughter, sister, social worker, teacher, trainer, and of course, writer, media personality, editor, producer, all of that. And it's just gets so frustrating and overwhelming. So for me, for example, and I'm sure it's a lot of women like me who are juggling multiple things. Like, what are some things that you explore with them to help them find that peace? Because I know Robin, she testified and said that you helped her to find that medium.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And you're somebody who I love following because it's like, okay, I can get a calm spirit. I had to tailor my timeline to certain people
You
pop up
do.
because look, I don't want to hear some of that some days. And that's why I try to share the beans as well to, like, come on, let's be positive. Let's check on our strong friends. So what are some things you do with some of your clients?
Yeah. Well, thank you, one, for that. That love
You're
and that
welcome.
shout out.
Yeah,
So that's
I believe in telling people how you that's the impact of me too.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you I
how
love you and how I feel about you. Like I'm one of those people like, I love you, right? Okay.
Mhm.
Like Manju knows when I heard that he was by the way, Manju was here when I first debuted on Rocki's Reality. And so when Robin said in the email, she said, Manju gonna be doing your show. I was like, oh, I'm so happy because he knows he's one of the people he has really helped me and supported me. So I really, shout out to you, Manju. I really appreciate and love you. He's like a brother to me. So I really appreciate when you have those people
You
who
gotta
support
love
you,
them.
that's important.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing I do with my clients is we approach it from a holistic standpoint. You're a whole human. So we have to take into consideration a lot of the women that I work with are, holding maybe multiple identities. So yes, you're woman or female identified. Are you a mother? Do you have chronic, do you have chronic illness? Are you battling anxiety and depression, which a lot of us are? And as an entrepreneur, it's a lot of uncertainty. So you have to really be comfortable with being uncomfortable because, as much as people are out here purveying, like, yeah, you can have a 6K, 6-figure a month and you just do these steps once. No, no, because the battlefield is always here, in the mind and all of the roles is really. So one of the things that I try to get my clients to do as quickly as possible is delegation. getting things off your plate,
Mhm.
focusing on your zone of genius. And again, it doesn't always necessarily have to cost money. Like you can start out with interns. You can start out with maybe going on Fiverr, finding a virtual assistant until your budget increases. But really look at what is your zone of genius? Like where are my strengths naturally lie? And if it's, we talked about it on Facebook, like, okay, so bringing sponsorship in, because yes, we got to keep the oil, to keep the engine
Yeah.
humming. Well, delegate that off to someone else so that you can focus on the genius part of what you do, and then really get in touch with, like, again, your empathic gifts, because again, you may be out of alignment. And if you're out of alignment, the blessings are not flowing in because you're doing things that are not tailored to or really
Like
part.
you said, align, not hustle.
That's right.
Align, not hustle.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh. Stop it.
Right.
And
Because if
again,
you do what comes naturally to you, and
yes.
I was telling my best friend that we hadn't spoken for like 2 weeks, and I was like, I've been busy. I've literally had like 10 writing assignments.
Mhm.
I like had a bio, press release, and I had a landing page,
Mhm.
just all these things, and and that's what I.
So
like
listen to
that.
what you had a landing page, you had a bio. What else?
A press release. I had to. These
A
are
press
all things
release?
I had to write and edit.
Mhm.
I had a couple press releases.
Which of those do you enjoy most?
I mean, I just like writing, period. But
Mhm.
I mean, I especially like doing my articles because when I
Mm-hmm.
get to interview people,
Mhm.
and just the way to tell the story
Okay.
behind the person about who they are, not just what they are.
Okay.
So I don't have a preference. All of that is creative writing for me, and I just love all of it. And I love
So
the
which
different type of
one?
clients.
So look, we doing spot coaching. So let me just love see coaching real
Okay.
quick. So hear me out. Which one pays the most?
Well, actually, the landing page. Well, see, bios, depending how large your bio is.
Okay.
So that would be between the bio and the landing page that pay the most.
Okay. So what if you just focused on bios and landing pages for the next year? Don't take
'Cause I love-
any other writing assignment, because if those are the two, you said you love it. Because I can see you as an empath getting into the bio. So you stepped into that
Yes.
person's shoes. And I'm sure when they get it back, they're like, how did you even know?
And we always have a conversation over the phone.
Exactly.
I send a questionnaire and we always
Mhm.
have a conversation over the phone.
And then I'm
too.
sure you get these intuitive hits as
Yep.
you're doing it.
Yeah.
So what if you focus just on those two things? Nothing else. The other part is that we want to be in rooms that we're not even in. So what if people are like, who did your bio? Girl, let me tell you.
Yes.
Rocki did my bio.
Yeah.
Who did your landing page? Girl, let me tell you. Rocki is the
Now, by the way, to
best.
be clear, I do the content for the landing page.
Right. She's not the design.
I'm
She's
not
the-
the web designer. I just do the content. But yeah, I mean,
and just focus on those. And what if those were packages? So what if it was a bio landing page package that you sell? Because I mean, if you're gonna get the bio done,
right.
even if it's it's landing page. So for people that are not, so it's a single page. Usually there's an opt-in or there's a gift there, but that is the person's first introduction
Right.
to the person that has trusted you with the intimacy of writing their life. Like you're telling, I'm trusting you to show the world who I am.
And that's exactly my focus a lot of times.
Yeah.
It's not a eulogy. I mean, obituary.
Right.
It's showing
the living
the character essence of who you are.
Right.
So yeah. Okay.
Just consider it. And maybe it's a package that, you do landing page, bio, landing page, bio. And so, when we're doing things, you want to scale it to whatever you're doing, you want to try and scale that one thing to 50K.
You meant like 50K a year, or what do you mean?
50K a year.
Okay.
So once you have hit a 50K mark, especially for those of us who are multi-potentialites, and I love that, you got multiple passions, kind of stick to that one so you can get some traction around it. Because here's the thing, is like you got all these buckets and things that are going, and if none of them are being replenished, then you're going to stay in that hustle mode. And then you start to take on projects that you really maybe don't want to do, but you feel like you need the money.
Yeah.
And if that's your driver energetically, you're only going to get things that are like,
now, yeah, I have had to say no to some projects.
Mhm.
Like, no, I'm not just going to extend myself just to get paid, because that's not really,
yeah.
Because as a writer, I have to feel it.
Mhm.
It's not just a technical thing for me. And I'm not a grant writer. I'm not a technical writer. I'm a creative writer.
Yeah.
So I have to, it's strange to explain it. I have
Yeah.
to feel that connection.
But if you're sharing
the
with
story?
people,
Right.
this is what I do, you know, on and have everything come back to Rocky's reality. You want people, of course, yes, we want listeners, but we want people to advertise with you, sponsor the show,
Right.
sponsor the show, right? So, you know, maybe there is something where it's working, you know, bio turns into sponsorship. So they've spent X amount of money, you know, with you, and so it gets them X amount of time on your
Right,
show.
absolutely. Yeah, now
Right?
you got the wheels turning.
Mhm.
Ooh, child. Okay, I'm gonna have to schedule a session. So where do we be? Because like you said, delegation. That's what I need to.
Yes.
And see, this is what prior to the pandemic, I was in the midst of getting us an
Virtual
intern,
okay.
From Specs Howard.
Yeah,
Intern. Because I'm like, So I need to pick that back up.
Yeah.
So it's just I put some things on the back burner because my daughter was graduating now. And now I'm like, okay, that's you in college now. Now it's time for because I know I do have to like center my attention at times. In certain things, I'm like, okay, this has to wait. So I can give this my full attention. So
Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell people where they can find you, Miranda. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Next show is November 11th.
Ooh, 11/11. That's good. Yeah. Come on,
yeah.
portal open. Let's go. Come
So
through.
let's
Let's activate. I'm here for it.
Think about that. I love it. 11/11/2021 too.
Ooh.
I love it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that's gonna be Beth Griffith Manley will be here. The voice, she's singer, author. Now she has a children's book coming out.
That's beautiful.
So definitely, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Berhinda. Where can they find you?
So log on to berhindawilliams.com. There is a hyphen in it. So BER-HENDA Williams.com. And all my socials are there. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, all under Berhinda. And yeah, if you're a highly sensitive, empathic, mission-based entrepreneur where you know you want to create some cultural shifts in the world, and you know the calling on your life is really big and huge, let me help you not shoulder the entire responsibility because no one person can do it all.
Okay. Thank you for listening, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I'm glad